Support for the Leadoff on WGLT and WGLT.org comes from the Central Illinois Regional Airport, where Florida beaches are one flight away. Featuring nonstop service on Allegiant Airlines to Tampa, St. Pete, and Orlando Sanford from Bloomington. Close, convenient, CIRA. More at CIRA.com.
Medical professionals are getting lots of questions from patients about so-called miracle weight loss drugs. It's one of the things you need to know to start your day for Wednesday, May 29th. I'm Ryan Denham, and this is WGLT's The Leadoff. Now let's lead off with the super brood of cicadas descending on Illinois this summer. While they may be annoying, they can be especially uncomfortable for people living with hearing disorders. Joe Deacon from our partner station, WCBU, has more.
Fatima Hossein is a professor of speech and hearing science at the University of Illinois. She says the cicadas can reach the same decibel level as a jet engine during a normal year. For those living with hearing conditions like tinnitus and sound sensitivity, it can make their symptoms worse.
They do cause discomfort. They can sometimes cause a sense of oral fullness or temporary threshold shifts. When you come back in to an indoor space which is fairly quiet, you feel that your ears are kind of full.
For some people with tinnitus, the bug's signature chirp creates a rare effect called masking.
When they go near these trees, which are full of cicadas, they hear the cicadas, but not their own tinnitus. So it sort of masks or dampens the sound they are hearing.
Hossein says if you're struggling with the noise, wear earplugs or headphones outside, stay away from areas dense with trees, and avoid the hottest parts of the day. The brood is expected to stick around for about 4 to 6 weeks. I'm Joe Deacon.
Here's some other stories we're following in the WGLT newsroom. Senator Dick Durbin from Illinois says the sighting of a controversial flag outside a Supreme Court justice's vacation home is deeply concerning. Durbin says that Justice Samuel Alito should recuse himself from January 6th cases, but he doubts he will. A 59-year-old Indiana man was killed Monday evening in a crash involving two SUVs about 30 miles east of Bloomington Normal in rural McLean County. Authorities are investigating the cause of that crash. And the town of Normal will rename its Fairview Pool as the Kent M. Carricker Aquatic Center, named for the former Normal mayor who died in March. The timing for that change is still to be determined. You can find more on these stories at WGLT.org. The diabetes medication Ozempic is now being hailed as a miracle drug for weight loss. It may sound too good to be true, so medical professionals are getting lots of questions from patients. Rachel Fail is an advanced practice nurse with OSF Healthcare Weight Management. In this edition of WGLT's Sound Health, Fail tells WGLT's Eric Stock how Ozempic works as a diet suppressant.
As we saw, and we're doing trials with Ozempic, weight loss was a noted side effect. So the company then went ahead and did FDA trials to have the drug semaglutide FDA approved for weight loss. So the weight loss version is called Wegovy. But it's the same medication. It's just in a little bit of a fancier pen, and it's FDA approved for the treatment of the disease of obesity.
And how does the treatment work?
So this is a once-a-week injection that patients would give themselves. And similar to the way I described it works for diabetics, it works really well in our brain to control appetite. So even as we're doing research, we're not exactly sure why it works so well in the brain, but appetite is controlled. And we hear a lot of patients say food noise is gone. They don't have as much thought about food, as much cravings. And then the way it works in our gut is it slows how fast the stomach empties. So not only do we feel less hungry, but we also feel full longer after meals. And then our food is released slower into the system, and so we don't get as big of glucose spikes. And this is how it's controlling our blood sugar overall. When
we look at a lot of people's challenges when it comes to weight management, it's partly the mind, but also the body. There's stress eating, there's eating out of boredom, and those sorts of things. It seems hard to believe that it just, you just don't think about it. You don't think about food in the same way.
Yeah, and I hear a lot of patients are very surprised when they take it to find how much their thinking changes. I have a lot of patients tell me, I don't really care if I lose any weight. It's just nice to not have those constant thoughts, which we do know are part of the disease of obesity. When we have obesity, we make much more hunger hormone than someone else might have. And so there is a lot of constant thoughts of hunger that go along with the disease of obesity. And so, yeah, that's feedback that I get from most patients. And it doesn't work for everyone. It's like any medication. So there are some people who take it and don't have amazing results. But, these medications, not only Wegovy, but we've got a couple other now FDA approved for weight. But that's the most common feedback I get is patients just cannot believe how well it's kind of shut that thought process down.
And the medication here is still pretty limited, it appears, and cost is a factor. Do you foresee price coming down in the coming weeks and months, or insurance companies covering it for weight loss at a greater level than they are now?
In the coming weeks or months, I don't see anything happening with price. I would say in the next 2 to 5 years, I would expect that. We do expect liraglutide, which is Saxenda for weight loss, to be generic this year. And so I think that price will probably drop. The rest have quite a few years before they'd be in that category, but we do have a lot of these drugs in clinical trial. So I think as there's more than 3 options, then we've already seen Wegovy lower its price this year in response to Zepbound. So I think we'll see those prices start to come down. They are pretty limited just right now as far as availability, also because they are so popular. So companies are having trouble keeping up with production. So there's some of that limits availability. I think we have some Medicare and Medicaids all looking at coverage for these drugs. And I think as that happens, we'll see maybe more commercial coverage. I've seen in the last 2 to 3 years, probably a slight bump in commercial coverage, maybe 10 to 20% from what I was seeing a couple of years ago.
And part of the discussion that has transpired in the media because of this, as you had alluded to, concern that if these weight loss medications become more readily available, there will still be a segment of the population that won't be able to get it, they won't be able to afford it, and there will be increasing pressure on some to find some way somehow to get it as it becomes more popular. Are you concerned about a sort of health stratification in that regard?
Yeah, I think we struggle with health equity in all of our medications and treatments for many different conditions. So I think in the world of obesity medicine, we do really strive to push for health equity and for access to these medications for all of our patients. I think just remembering that treating the disease of obesity, it involves many different facets. And so the medication is one piece of it.
That was Rachel Fail from OSF Healthcare's Weight Management, speaking with WGLT's Eric Stock.
Support for WGLT health coverage comes from Carle Health. You can count on Carle as your partner in healthcare. Information at carle.org.
Before we let you go, a reminder that WGLT's Housing Solutions Forum is tonight at 6 at ISU's Bone Student Center in the Prairie Room. Our newsroom will moderate a solutions-focused discussion with local, state, and federal officials with time for your questions, too. And that's it for today. I'm Ryan Denham. You can subscribe to the Leadoff on the NPR app or wherever you get your podcasts.